Well, hello everyone. Welcome to The Path TV. We're Phillip and Laura Baker. As always, thanks for spending some time with us. Hey, if this is your first time watching The Path, what is this all about? Well, a great marriage is not a destination. It's a journey. It's a path. And every episode, we're just getting a little bit further along the path, and we're having a good time while we're doing it. And this is your first time. You also need to know that what you're going to hear today isn't a lot of super spiritual, in-depth theology, because, hey, marriage is much more practical, applicable, memorable. Marriage is real, it's raw, it's something that needs to be talked about in a very practical way. And that's what The Path is all about. And we're going to have a good time. No matter where you are today, man, we sure would love to hear from you. Man, this thing, The Path streams all over the world, different continents, different nations, and we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us, info@philipbaker.org, and write us and tell us what you're seeing, what you're hearing. If you got a prayer request, send it our way. And hey, if you love The Path and you'd like, where can we catch more episodes? Hey, we got you covered. Just go over to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search PBM Phillip Baker, and subscribe to the channel. And every time another episode is uploaded, you'll be able to watch it. I think at this point, at the time
we're well over a year.
Yeah, we're well over a year.
Yeah.
We're well over 50 episodes that'll just take you from A to Z and really be a blessing. You can use these in your churches for small group discussions. Watch them as a family. And listen, if you're out there, hey, if you're single, stop. Check out The Path. If you're single, watch these episodes. It's one thing to get this information in you when you're married. It's another thing to get this information in you when you're single, before you get married. And so, hey, we're talking about something today. We're talking about we started it last week. We started our last episode talking about the needs in a marriage. And last episode, we talked about the 5 greatest needs of a man. This week, we're going to talk about 5 greatest needs of a woman.
Absolutely. So women, listen up. We are speaking your language today. Men, I hope you're listening. This will help you understand your wife more, understand the things that are important to her, the things that she needs. And Phillip talked about it in the last episode that, sometimes there are things that we need that we don't quite realize that it's a need in our life, because we always know our wants. Oh, come on, we know what we want. If I ask you what you want, you could tell me exactly what you want. I want this, I want that, I want this kind of home, I want that, I want to drive this, I want to have that. All of your wants. But sometimes we don't recognize the things that fulfill us and the things that we need. Maybe it's because we didn't see it as we were growing up. And so we don't have a reference to be able to find out what it is that we need. So we're going to talk, men, we talked about the 5 greatest needs of a man, and 5 greatest needs of men. And I want, what Phillip said last time that I liked is they're not in any particular order. You can hear them in particular order, but each couple's different, each person's different. Sometimes things are much more important to you than maybe the person sitting next to you.
Right.
And so we talked about the greatest needs. Sex. It's a great need of a man. Honor. He needs to know that he is appreciated and respected. Number 3 is an attractive spouse. He needs, do what you got with what, do what you can with what you got. Number 4 is home support, knowing that it's a place of peace, knowing that it's a place of no chaos, and it's a place of order. Number 5 was fun. Men like to do things, have hobbies, have fun. And sometimes we get so involved in life that we forget that it's really a need of a man, that he needs to have that outlet. And if you join along with him, then you get to have fun as well.
That's good.
And so we talked about that. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it, because it's important
Episode
that you both
53.
know it.
Episode 53, 5 greatest needs of a man.
But today we're going to talk about the 5 greatest needs of a woman, and they're very different. Very, very different. So let's go.
The dynamic is couples in a great marriage, they understand, but listen, they also care. You got to care.
Yeah.
Men, you got to care what the needs of your wife are. Ladies, you got to care what the needs of your husband are. You got to understand it, and you got to care about the other's needs. That's why we're doing these 2 episodes. And I went back to Ephesians 5, where it says in Ephesians 5, 2 times the Apostle Paul tells ladies to honor their husbands. Mm-hmm. Well, he said that because he knew that's what men needed.
Right.
But you know what? Men need more than just honor. And then he told the men 4 times to love your wives. Well, the reason he said that is because he knew that's what women needed. Well, women need love, but they also need more than that. Well, that's what we're talking about in these 2 episodes, or what are the needs of a man, what are the needs of a woman. So let's jump into this. The first need of a woman is, come on.
Communication.
Communication.
A woman needs to talk. She needs to be able to talk, and she needs to be heard. Mm-hmm. She needs to talk things out. Men process things a lot in their minds, and they're thinking all the time. It's not that they're not thinking. They're thinking, but they process it in their minds. Women are not, they don't process things that way. They have to talk through things. They have to ask questions. And in asking questions, you find out that there's security in that. There is trust in that. I begin to say, well, what are we going to do about this? It tells me that he's thinking about it, that he's thought about it, that he has a plan for it. And sometimes men, they do all of that in their head, and they have these plans in their head, but when they don't communicate it to their wife, it's frustrating. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what you're thinking, I don't know what you're doing, so that's what communication's about. And the story that women have, 28,000 words a day, and men have like 10,000. Mm-hmm. It's vastly different. That's also why you have friends, girls that are your friends, so that you can communicate and get those words out. Mm-hmm. But men, it's important that you communicate with your wife, that you sit down, not in the middle of TV shows, not in the middle of a Super Bowl or football games, basketball, whatever. The communication is undivided. It doesn't have to be eternal. It does not have to be eternal. It doesn't have to be 5 hours a day. Listen, that's not practical.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
Absolutely. To sit down and just say, I need you to know what's going on. I need you to answer some questions for me. I need to know what you're thinking about this, or what have you even thought about that? Because sometimes women, we think, oh, well, he's never even thought about what we would do with this. He has thought about it. He just hasn't communicated it. Mm-hmm. But then let me also say this, ladies. Sometimes we need that communication, and we know it, but we want to just assume that he reads our mind. Oh, I shouldn't have to tell him that. Mm-hmm. He should just know. Well, men aren't built that way. They don't just know. They don't read minds. Ladies, they're not mind readers. They're absolutely not mind readers, and so you have to communicate the things that you need, the things that you want, the things you want to talk about. Don't assume that he just already knows. Don't assume he remembers your birthday's coming up. Don't assume he remembers the kids' birthdays coming up. You have to communicate that to him. Well, I shouldn't have to. Well, it will help you along the way. It will be much less frustrating if you communicate those things to him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. So number 1 is communication. Another great need of a woman is just affection. Affection. And when I'm talking about affection, I'm talking about non-sexual affection. I'm talking about, those back rubs, those hugs, those kisses on the cheek, those pats, this non-sexual affection that you're touching her, you're hugging her, you're kissing her, not because you want something. You're not trying to turn on the crock pot. You're loving on her, and you're affectionate, not because you want something, but because it's an expression of your love for her. And listen, men, you got to understand something. Your wives have a superpower. You could be walking down the hallway, and if you accidentally bump into them, they immediately know if you accidentally bumped into them or you're flirting with them and you're trying to, set something up for later. If you walk up to her and give her a kiss on the cheek, they know if it's just a kiss on the cheek or if it's, you're trying to set something up for later.
Come on.
They know. And I'm telling you, men, when you are affectionate with your wife, well, you go, well, that's just not my personality. I don't give a rip what your personality is. None of this stuff has anything to do with personality. It has everything to do with a man loving his wife and a woman honoring her husband. It has everything to do with fulfilling your wife's needs and your wife fulfilling your needs. And men, when you're affectionate with your wife, with no ulterior motives, with no agenda, it fills her love tank. It fulfills a need in her. And listen, and the more you fulfill that need, well, the more she's going to fulfill that need in you for sexual fulfillment. Amen? In other words, if you'll sow affection, come on, you'll reap sexual fulfillment. And so, men, listen to me.
And affection is not just touching, which it's the major part of it. But you know, affection can also be shown by words. You know, baby, you really look pretty today. Now, I'm not talking about when she comes out in flannel pajamas, hadn't, washed her hair in 3 days and she looks rough. I'm talking about a genuine, a
gentle words.
Yeah, gentle words. Especially along with a little touch, a little hug. It goes a long, long way.
Yeah. And I think the tough part of that is, we've been married since 1987. And, that's a long time, And I think for you, the guys that have been married a long time, it's so easy to kind of take that for granted and kind of get familiar with each other. And you think you're touching more than you are, and maybe you're not. You think you're hugging more than you are, and maybe you're not. You think you're giving those kisses on the cheek more than you are, and you're not. And it's just because you've been married so long that you can kind of pass each other, throughout the day and kind of get away from some of that. There's no doubt in my mind that we've done that, over the years. It's something you got to work at. And so that communication, you got to work at it. That affection, you got to work at it. What's the third one, babe?
It's honesty and openness. That really just comes down to a trust issue. When you know that you can trust your spouse, it's being real with them. It's being open about maybe what you're going through. And it's not always easy for men to talk about, because our society doesn't just really tell you, talk about your feelings and talk about your emotions. And I don't mean really so much feelings, but sometimes you're going through something, men, and you've been taught to suck it up and deal with it yourself. You've been taught you don't talk about it, you just go through it. And sometimes there are things that you need to share with your wife, that you're going through, that you're dealing with. And that openness, it's hard to do for men because it expresses vulnerability, but it will build intimacy with your wife. Mm-hmm. It will build trust with your wife. And then, when you talk about honesty, that honesty, if you don't have that, then you don't have trust. If I ask my husband, hey, who'd you see today? Who'd you talk to today? And he's funny about it. He's weird about it. Hey, I didn't do anything. I didn't see anybody. I didn't talk to anybody. Then you start, that dishonesty gets in there. When you don't tell the truth about stuff, when you hide stuff, that's definitely, that's an issue. And so you need to be honest. And I will tell you, one of the things that Phillip and I had did a long time ago in the first of our marriage, and we've tried to keep this up, and it's honesty, it's openness, is, you're married, but you're not dead, You're gonna find people that you walk across that you find attractive, that there's something there. And, there's been times when Phillip has said, hey, listen, today I met this woman and there was a spark, there was something there, and I'm letting you know that. And that, it doesn't make me paranoid. It doesn't make me upset. It doesn't make me mad. It opened up something that the devil doesn't have any way to get in there. There's no dishonesty. There's no hiding something. And I've done the same with him. And it doesn't produce jealousy in us. It produces, thank you for telling me. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. I love that you were open enough to tell me that. And it doesn't allow the enemy to get in there. We're open and we're honest about things. You're married, but you are not dead. You are still alive, especially with the area of attraction to other people.
Amen.
Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we've got communication, affection, honesty, and openness. And then, so we got 2 more to go. And so what we're going to do is we want to take a quick break. And you've got to, I want to really encourage you to do something. When this episode is over, go over to our website, philipbaker.org. and sign up for the Daily Move. It's a little email that comes every morning. It takes about 10 seconds to read. It'll take you about 10 seconds to sign up. It's just your name and your email. And every morning a little move is going to hit your life. Every morning you're going to wake up, you're going to pop over there. It'll take about 10 seconds to read, and it's going to stick with you every day. It's going to motivate you, inspire you, challenge you. It's going to encourage you, and it's really going to be a blessing in your life. People all over the world get it. It's a seed that we sow into the world.
It's free.
And you're really going to love it. So check this out, and we'll be back in around 30 seconds. All right, welcome back to the Path TV again. We're Phillip and Laura Baker, and I'm telling you, you're going to love the Daily Move. Almost every day, people reply back to that Daily Move and say, "Amen, really needed this today. Man, this was right what I needed to read. Oh my gosh, thank you. Hey, do you mind if I preach this?" Yeah. I mean, it's just stuff like that. And so you're really going to like it. Sign up, and tomorrow morning you'll get your first one. And so there'll be a blessing to you. And then while you're there at our website, check out our itinerary. Maybe we're coming to a church near you. We got a lot of media there. It's just, there's a lot of great resources there at phillipbaker.org. All right, hey, we're talking about the needs of a marriage. And you know, in episode 53, we talked about the 5 greatest needs of a man. And this is episode 54, and we're talking about the 5 greatest needs of a woman. And so we opened up with communication, hello, affection, and then number 3 was honesty and openness. You know, Laura said it best, you know, having a relationship where you trust each other. So important. A woman needs that so much. And the 4th one is financial security. You know, a woman needs to know that everything's going to be okay, that they're secure, you know, that her house isn't about to be taken from her, you know, that her car's not about to be, that they're not about to go broke. Right. You know, they're not going to turn off the electricity. Come on, they're not going to turn off the bills. You know, they're going, that there's security there in the financial realm. And men, you know, as the head of the house, as the men of the house, you know, that's one of our jobs, is to provide that for our family. Now, I know we're living in a world now where women are working just as much as men. I know there's a lot of you out there that, men working full time, women are working full time. I get that. I get that. But men, it's upon us more than anyone else to make sure that financial security is there, to bring a security, to bring peace to that home and to our wife and to our children, and that we as men, that we take on that responsibility even more so, even if our wives are working full time, that men, that we're taking on that responsibility even more. Well,
and you know, in the fact that both parties work most of the time, it's not just about the money that comes in. I do think that if you have more bills than you have money, then you've got to make some changes. You know, you've got to do whatever, whether it means change jobs, whether it means get another job. I do think that responsibility falls on the man, but I think it's more than just the money that's brought in. I think it is a sense of grabbing her hand and saying, "Baby, I promise you, we're going to be okay. I'm going to do whatever it takes." Right. I'm going to do whatever it takes so that we will be able to do this or do that, have our bills paid, have our needs met. I think that is a huge responsibility. And I think it's a huge part of it, not just the money-wise. And then women, let me speak to you, because if you see that if you're partners in this, you see that there are challenges financially, then it's also up to you to make some adjustments. It's up to you maybe to not do nails for a while, or to make some adjustments. You know, it needs to be a sacrifice on both parts. The men will lead the way. That is your responsibility to take on that to own that, and to lead the way, not just in the money, but also into reassuring her and talking to her. But women, we have a responsibility as well. If we are spending more than needs to be spent, then we need to look at that. I think it's a partnership.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're a gentleman out there and you're not married, if this is something you need to understand and make sure you sign up for before you even think about marrying a young lady.
Right.
This is a responsibility that you need to embrace, to say, okay, am I ready for that financial responsibility for a wife and for a family? And if you don't understand that, if you're not ready for that, then don't date. Then don't get involved with a young lady until you grow up, until you get a job, until you understand that you're going to have some responsibilities. And if you're still in this place in your life to where you don't want those responsibilities, and you want to do what you want to do, how you want to do it, with who you want to do it, and you just want some cash in your pocket, and you just want to play, then you're not ready for marriage. And you're not ready to take responsibility for a wife and for a family. And I got a feeling there's some women out there going, amen, brother, preach it. And so men, this is a great need for a woman. And men need to understand that before you pop the question, are you ready to take on that kind of responsibility?
Hey, listen, while you're single, this is the time for you to do what you want to do, but also prepare for the future. Get a savings account.
Yeah, come on.
Don't go into a marriage with nothing. Say, baby, I've got us some startup money. This is what we're going to start with. We're going to have a savings account. See, when you get all of that set in place now, when you get married, it's easy. It's already in place. So you start the marriage with money. You start the marriage with a savings account, and you say, we're going to grow this, baby. This is what we're going to use to buy our first house. This is what we're going to use to do whatever we need to do. Amen?
Oh, that's good.
I like that.
So number 1, communication. Number 2, affection. Number 3, honesty and openness. Number 4, financial security. And hey, let's finish this out. What's the 5th one, babe?
Number 5 is family commitment. Listen, every woman wants to know that the man that she is married to is committed to not just her, but is committed to their family, committed to the growth of their family, committed to the finances of their family, committed to the fun of their family. Listen, I love the fact that Phillip doesn't plan. We do family vacations. Now, of course, kids are older and they're kind of scattered all over the place. That's kind of coming to an end. But when they were young, we made a priority to do a family vacation. And some years we didn't have anything. So we had to get really creative. Some years we had a little more. He didn't do the planning, but he did the encouragement. Yeah, baby, let's do that. It was important to him. It was important to him that we had fun, that we made memories, that we did stuff together. It was important to him that I didn't do all the discipline that he did. That's family commitment. He didn't just make me do all the discipline, or he didn't just do all the discipline himself. We did it together. We were committed to our family together. And, in that, he did something that we heard years ago, and I love it, date your daughters. Daddies, date your daughters. And he did that. He would take them on dates. They would get dressed up and they would go out. He would take them on dates on their birthday every year. Every year. I took Keegan out and I did stuff with him on his birthday, and we went on little food adventures because we're both foodies and we both love stuff food, different kind of foods. He took the girls on dates on their birthdays, other times too, but on their birthdays. They knew Daddy was going to take them somewhere, do something special with them. And so that was his commitment to our family. And it brought such peace. I grew up in a home where it was just my mom and I didn't have a dad. I didn't know what to expect. When he would try to be Daddy, it took me back a little bit. Part of me loved that, and part of me didn't know what to expect. I had to relearn some things. But he was committed to our family. He was committed that we would do things together and that we'd spend time together, that we would have talks together. And sometimes that looked like all 5 of us. Sometimes it was just him and I and Keegan, him and I and the girls. But he was committed deeply to the growth of our family financially, spiritually, emotionally. He took an investment, and he didn't put it all on me, and he didn't take it all for himself. And so it is amazing when a dad gets involved in that, how much peace it brings to the wife, how much peace it brings to the family, and to our home. I loved that. I loved a husband that was involved and that cared and that was intentional about doing family things. Even down to like Christmas pictures. Have you ever tried to make 5 people smile at the same time? Look the same place at the same time? Yeah. I mean, it was, sometimes it would be a fight just to get a Christmas picture.
Right.
But he was involved in that, and he cared about that. And it just brought peace to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to kind of finish things out by just kind of spotlighting this word work, W-O-R-K. I know it's not a great word. Work, I mean, it's, candy. We like that word candy. Work is a different word. Work, work. There's things in life, things in marriage you don't have to work at. Like eating. You don't have to work at eating. You just get hungry. It just happens. You don't have to work to get hungry. You don't have to work at wanting to go to sleep or take a nap. It just happens. You get sleepy. You go take a nap. You go to bed at night. You don't have to work at it. It just happens, There's just certain, when it comes to sex for a man, it ain't something he's got to work at. It's biological. It's in him. Lust you lust your wife. You don't have to work at it. It just happens. You're just, sexual fulfillment. You don't have to work at it. It just happens. Well, I get that, but there's things in a marriage you got to work at.
Yeah.
And when it comes to these 5 needs of a woman, men, you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to work at communicating with your wife. You're going to have to work at being affectionate. You're going to have to work at being honest and open. You're going to have to work at that financial security. You're going to have to work. It's going to require
Literally.
work. Family commitment. You're going to have to work. But listen, it's worth it. It's worth it. Women, as you go back over episode 53 and you look at those 5 greatest needs of a man, you're going to have to work at it. And I think sometimes out of sight, out of mind. I think sometimes we need to have something that reminds us of things we need to work at. Whether it's something on your refrigerator or it's something on your phone, it's something that reminds you of today I need to put some work in on this. Why? Because it's so important to him. There's some things I need to work at today because it's so important to her. You don't have to work at sleep. You don't have to work at hunger. But when it comes to this stuff, you got to put the work in. So how are you going to put the work in?